Why don't you do a podcast? Now, I would tell you one of the most common questions I've gotten asked over the past 6 months, which is the opposite of that. So, as I ask you, why don't you do a podcast? So often I get asked, why do you do a podcast? For me, they ask me that question because they're curious on why I made the decision to do that. Knowing me, and especially the first 10, 15 years of my experience of my career, is I really wasn't interested in putting myself out there. I didn't have a large social media presence. The people that I worked around knew me well as a pretty outspoken person, but I didn't put my opinions and my thoughts and my overall presence online very much. But one of the things I could tell you that it's helped me drastically, it's helped me learn. I've always carried a curious mind. I've always been a digester of a lot of content through audiobooks and other podcasts. But there was a lot of questions that I wasn't getting answered that it was generally interested in. So for me, the reason why I started a podcast had three primary benefits. Benefit number one is it allowed me to close the gap on some of the knowledge. Over the past 6 months, I've been very, very curious about AI. So if you look at a lot of my content, especially my podcasts, whether it be on my BDC Focus podcast or the Ground Up podcast, had a lot of people on there asking them about AI, asking them about where it's going, what to do, what not to do, and all of those things. And that has helped me truly learn and understand from people I would consider to look up to in that space. In addition to that, one of the things I think that's most valuable out of the podcast for me, number two, would be the ability for me to close the gap in building some established leverage relationships. For me, I think so often in business, people overlook the network side and the relationship side you have. So as I make potential explorations in the AI side, as I continue to try to be the best entrepreneur and business leader I can, speaking to other people who have walked down that road before me, that allow me to learn from and now will walk that walk with me, has been an absolute pivotal part. And then this is not the reason why we do the podcast, but it is a positive outcome. I would say about 20% of the podcasts that I end up doing with our guests, business is conducted, whether I end up working with them, whether they end up working with me, whether I use their service or they use my service. I would say more and more of the people we interview with and that we have on our podcast, we end up finding a way to do business with them. So for me, there's a couple things you need to think about when you want to sit down and start a podcast. Number one, how do I get guests to my podcast? And the easy choice, just like me and Matt, when we first started a Ground Up podcast, was go to your existing friendship group, go to your existing network, but that will run dry eventually. So you have to have a strong outreach program. For us, we use LinkedIn, we explore LinkedIn, we navigate all of the experts in the different industries, and we use LinkedIn as our outreach methodology for us to get new people outside of our network into our audience. So we reach out to them LinkedIn and we request that they come onto the meeting. And come into that. What we do next, once we get somebody who's interested in the idea, then we have them come into a pre-podcasting qualifying interview. So we have them come on, they either meet with me or one of my producers, and we go through an overall qualifying discovery just to see if they'd be a good fit, to make sure they have value, to make sure there's potential need across the board, not just for us on the episode, but more importantly for our guests that might be watching and or that might be attending. From there, you need to identify the platform in which you want to post on. I know there's things like StreamYard. You can post directly out of YouTube. We choose to do all of our recording through a platform called Riverside. Riverside has a bunch of AI. It has a bunch of technology. It'll do a lot of the editing for you, but it doesn't do everything for you. But we love Riverside. From there, then you just have to do the podcast. And for me, what we do is we focus on 1 hour a week, one podcast a week that we put out every single week. Now, I do two. I do one for our entrepreneur and business focus, and I do another one for the BDC business that I run as well. But you would obviously identify your target, identify your niche, identify the frequency in which you do it, and then you'd record the podcast. From there, we generally follow a post-podcast prep. This is preparing the guests for what happens, preparing them on the timeline. A lot of times, as I said, meetings come out of these, so we will set up a follow-up meeting and kind of walk them through the timeline of when that episode comes out and what to do once it's about to come out and once it does. We want to make sure that if you have a guest on there, they're willing to promote the episode just like you are. From there, it kicks over to our editing team. We've got a team of editors who do all the editing, clipping, everything you need to do to then be able to put it out on your social media. And managing your podcast in your social media is going to be a pivotal part to get the clips and to get the content out in a way that people will be interested in coming to see it. If you're just releasing a podcast without a bunch of edited clips, without a bunch of ways through Instagram Reels and YouTube Shorts and TikTok, then many less people will be able to actually see and know the value that you're bringing on the podcast. And then for me, the big thing I stress is the views from the actual episode become almost irrelevant. Now, look, if we have an episode that does thousands or maybe one day millions of views, that is a great outcome, but not why we do it. We're not looking for big viewer count on our full form podcast. We would love that people are seeing the value in it to come and show there, but that's the last thing we want to do. Or the last thing we're concerned about when we put the content out. We're looking to build relationships, learn about things we want to, and be able to close gaps for our potential guests and our audience. If we can do that, our episode and our content will continue to grow. If you need help with this, please let us know. Help you at any point in time. If that's part of this process or help you run the process or get it started, we're down to help you. Talk soon.